Hi coaches, Ron Silico here. What I want to do in this video presentation today is talk about basketball cuts. In other videos that you've seen, we've talked about the importance of trying to move in straight lines as much as possible on the basketball court, certainly when you're on the offensive end of the court. And this is just some of the terminology from the other videos. I wanted to clarify what the understanding was of that. First one's easy enough. Is a basket cut. And what we mean by a basket cut is someone that cuts to the basket, a player that cuts to the basket and then goes all the way under the basket before they relocate somewhere on the perimeter where they post up. So the name of it's very appropriate. It's a basket cut. It's also called a backdoor cut. We just call it a basketball cut for the sake of simplicity. Second one I wanted to talk about is a curl cut. And it can evolve into a basket cut, or it could evolve into a pop back, or it can evolve into just curling around a screen, for example, and then catching a pass as you're making the curl around the screen. So if we've got a screen that comes here, this player's making a V cut, setting it up, and then they're curling around the screen. Let's make that a little tighter because that's what we want. And they can go all the way to the basket in a basket cut, or they can get the ball right in this area here. So that's what we mean by a curl cut. You can even wrap around the screen and go again. But that's the essence of a curl cut, is you're curling around the screen, either going into a basket cut, or it could become a situation where you're curling and then popping out if the defense goes onto the screen. So that's a curl cut. Next one I want to talk about is an eye cut. In some cases, it's the easiest one to guard, and in some cases, it's not. We use the eye cut the most when we're using our high-low offensive game with post players. It's basically just moving up and down like this. Now, there's certainly some cases where you've got guys running down the floor and then they come straight back. But that's basically the essence of an eye cut. It looks like an eye. You're going forward and then you come back in a straight line. And depending how the defense is playing again and where the ball's at, sometimes that's a great cut and sometimes it's the easiest one to guard. Kids in youth basketball, often if you get them moving, that's the first cut they're doing, and sometimes it's very easy to guard. The shallow cut we've covered in other videos. But just as a refresher, when the basketball gets dribbled at you, you're making a shallow cut. And it's called a shallow cut because it's not going all the way to the basket, but it's just kind of taking a couple steps and then replacing. It's great to use in the backcourt against double teaming, run and jump defense when your man goes to trap the ball. That's great against zones. It's great in this situation when you just get dribbled at. Maybe you're facing a pack type defense, so the basket cut's not an option, but you can do the shallow cut and replace where the dribbler just came from. The Iverson cut is probably the one that the next two. Let's just say this: the next two, I believe, are the ones that are really the most effective against intense on the line, up the line defensive pressure. Depending on where your offense is, sometimes a basket cut's not an option against pressure defense, especially if there's another offensive player below you in the basket area, such as a post player. A basket cut's just going to have two people occupying the same space, and when you're running offense, you don't want that. So the first one is what we call an Iverson cut, and it's basically going against the grain. So a lot of times you'll see the ball being in the point position. This guy's rolling on the line, up the line. This guy's either cutting across the floor behind the defense or cuts in front of the defense. And just makes a lateral cut straight across the floor, straight across the ball in most cases, and is available for a pass. Called the Iverson cut because it really became popular in the NBA with Allen Iverson. But just cutting straight across the floor, making that defense if they're on the line, up the line, in the close stance, you're going to have to open up and chase if they want to continue trying to deny the ball. The last one, which I think is really effective for getting the ball into the wing area or reversing the ball up to the point area, is the L cut. A lot of cases we use it if there's a guy down on the block trying to get the ball to the wing, gets to the elbow, and then pops out. So if you can imagine, you're on the line, up line, you've got to cover this. Player plants his outside foot and goes, and you've got to try and catch that. Second way we use it is when we're trying to reverse the ball. Let's say the ball is here. We're trying to fill the point position. We have that player cut to the foul line, what we call the sweet spot right in the middle of the foul line, and then make an L cut either out to the perimeter or towards the basket, turning into a basket cut. And then the last one are the V cuts. So where you go away from the ball and you come back, making V shapes. It could be small V's, it could be V's where you go quite a distance and then come back. Make an inside V cut and come back outside. A lot of different options with the V cut. But those are the cuts that we talk about. And again, I think the main teaching point that we want to talk about is moving in straight lines, moving in straight angles as much as possible, and trying to work against what the defense is trying to do if they're on the line, up the line, in a pack situation, whatever the case might be. So those are the cuts we use in our offenses. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please drop a note. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.